اعلم هديت أن أفضل المنن علم يزيل الشك عنك والدرن ويكشف الحق لذي القلوب ويوصل العبد إلى المطلوب.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين وصلى الله وسلم على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين نبينا وسيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين أما بعد. So brothers, before we start the lesson today, I hope you've all brought the test. If you have it with you, just keep it with you, inshallah. And we're going to go through the answers together. So we'll go through the answers, inshallah ta'ala, together. So what I need you to do is give your piece of paper, swap it with the person next to you, inshallah. So just swap it with the person next to you and then mark each other's papers, inshallah. Alright? So I think 2 weeks ago you went through the answers. So you should all have the answers, inshallah. You should all have the answers. So let's start from question 1. John, who is not a Muslim, decided to pray the janazah prayer with his Muslim colleague Ahmed to offer support for Ahmed's deceased mother. So is John going to be rewarded by Allah Azza wa Jal? So you have 4 options, A, B, C and D. Which is the correct answer? D. D or C?
B.
B. Okay, B. So no, because John is not a Muslim. John is not a Muslim. Does anyone have a dalil for it? Why is John not going to be rewarded for his janazah prayer? Na'am, Shaykh.
He does not believe in the akhirah and the day of judgment and the last prophet.
Na'am. He doesn't believe in the akhirah and the day of judgment, sah, and the last prophet. Excellent. Another dalil? Na'am.
The first condition of salah is Islam.
Na'am. The first condition, one of the shurut of every ibadah is al-Islam. And this is bil-ijma'. Consensus of the scholars. Question 2. Aisha was in the middle of her salah. She suddenly remembered that she had to pick up her mother from the store. She decided to leave her salah immediately. So she's praying, and then immediately she remembered her mum's waiting for her outside as the superstore. And then she decided to leave the salah immediately. She then remembered that her sister would be picking her mother up. So she continued praying. All of this happened in literally a few seconds. She didn't physically leave the salah, but she decided to leave the salah. So what is the ruling on Aisha's salah? A, her salah is null and void because she decided to abandon the salah. B, since she did not physically leave the salah, then her salah is still valid. C, part of her salah is valid and the other part is invalid. Or D, we can't say, it's in Allah's hands. Sorry? A. Naam. A, it is null and void as she decided to abandon the salah. Because which qa'idah does this go back to? The principle does this go back to? You know, the niyyah, the intention, right? The qa'idah, the intention. And one of the conditions of the intention is mada. What is one of the conditions of the niyyah? It has to be continuous. If a person nawa qat'an niyyah in the ibadah, then the ibadah is null. So if a person makes the intention to cut the niyyah, the intention to stop the niyyah, then that ibadah is no longer valid. Okay, question 3. Hamza was playing with his 2-year-old son when suddenly his son urinated on his thawb. Hamza was too tired to change, so he went to the roof for a nap. He decided to go to the roof for a nap. While he was sleeping, it rained heavily, and the rain washed away the urine on his thawb. So when Hamza woke up, it was time for the Asr Salah, by which time his thawb was dry. Is Hamza question to pray with his thawb, or does he change to another thawb? A, the answer is either A, B, C or D. A, since he did not make the intention to wash his thawb from the urine, he can't pray with this thawb. B, he is allowed to pray as the intention is not needed here. Or C, he should wash his thawb again with an intention, then he is allowed to pray. Or D, he should change his thawb just to be on the safe side. Which one? B. Does anyone have another answer? Is this bil ijma'? All of you agreed? B. He is permitted to pray as the intention is not needed here. Why is the intention not needed here?
Is it from Turuk?
I said it is from the turuk. Okay, turuk means what? Things that you abandon. The shari'ah wants wants you to be clean, wants your thawb to be clean. Okay? The intention, the niyyah is not a shart and a condition. You don't have to make a niyyah to clean your thawb. Okay, so as long as the thawb is clean, that's the main thing. Question 4, Zainab started to pray dhuhr. Then she remembered that she prayed fajr without wudu. So she changed her intention that this salah will now be fajr. So Zainab, she started to pray dhuhr. Allahu Akbar, she entered dhuhr. And then whilst she was in the first rak'ah, she remembered that she didn't pray, that she prayed fajr without any wudu. So she said to herself, okay, I'm in the salah now, dhuhr salah. I'm going to change this to fajr now. Instead of 4, I'm going to make it into 2. What is the hukum and the ruling on her dhuhr prayer and her fajr prayer? A, her dhuhr is invalid, but her fajr is valid. B, her dhuhr is valid, but her fajr is invalid, opposite. C, both of them are valid. D, both of them are invalid. Or E, this matter is in Allah's hands. Allahu A'lam. We can't say. Which one? What's the correct answer? D. Both are invalid. Both are invalid. Okay? Number 5. Zayd notices the respect and honor given to students of knowledge and the number of people that invite them to dinner. He also knows that there is a great reward in the akhirah for students of knowledge. So he applies to Medina University and he gets accepted. And his intention is to gain the respect of the people and the reward in the akhirah. So he's looking for lots of dinners in the dunya. And he's also looking for the ajr and the reward in the akhirah. What is the hukum here? A, since he intends the akhirah, he will be rewarded greatly. B, since his intention is 50% corrupt, he will be rewarded for the other 50%. Or C, his action is rejected and he is sinful. C, his action is rejected and he is sinful. Why? Because he didn't come with true ikhlas, 100% ikhlas. Okay. 6, you decided to give your car to your best friend as a gift and you demanded £2,000 from him. So you went to your best friend and he said, here's the keys, this is a gift to you for £2,000. Then your friend drove away. Okay? A is the answer. A, he has to pay you £2,000. Or B, he does not owe you anything. Since it was a gift and gifts are free.
Depends.
It depends on what?
Your intention.
The intention? Are you sure? So which is A or B? What's the hukum here?
Depends on what you mean by gift, and was it a joke to say 2,000?
No joke. He said gift. There's no joke here. Even if it's a joke, what's the hukum? Is it A or B? A. He has to give you £2,000. You say? B. He doesn't owe you anything because it was a gift and a free. Okay, let's go with those who say B. What's the dalil for it? If you say B, back it up with an evidence. Convince us.
That's what gift
No,
means. That's the meaning
because
of
he
gift.
said, this is a gift, but give me 2,000.
Nah.
So he have to get the 2,000 because he said, it is a gift, but I want my 2,000.
Okay, so أنت مع أصحاب الأول. You say A. Okay, خلاص. I'll come back to you, inshallah.
Because he said
2,000.
from the beginning, he said, this is a gift, but
No.
I want 2,000 from you.
Okay, Jamil.
Isn't that gift?
So let's begin with B. What's the dalil for those who say B? He doesn't owe you anything. He can drive away with, and that's it. The car, and not pay anything. What's the dalil for it? If there is, I don't know. I'm asking you. I don't know the answer. Tfaddal.
It goes against the language and the culture of what a gift is.
But what is that based on? Which qa'idah? You remember you've studied the Qawaaid Fiqhiyyah, so you have to give me a qa'idah. Na'am, Sheikh.
It's a general understanding in the community.
Do you say A or B first, Sheikh?
It's the B.
B, okay. So he doesn't owe him anything.
No, it doesn't go because it's an understanding. If I give my mother a gift of gold, that's gift, and then when she dies, and then I say, well, no, it wasn't a gift. It's wrong for me to ask anything of her. Whereas, a gift is unconditional.
But what if I say to you, here, take this, uncle, I'm going to give you my car as a gift for £2,000. and then you take the keys with you. In a court of law, if you take my car, do you owe me £2,000 or not?
I don't understand that. It's about the condition.
I haven't placed any condition. I've just used the word gift. Instead of saying, I'm selling you my car for £2,000, I said, I'm gifting you my car for £2,000. So that's what we're trying to... So those who say A, what is your qa'idah and principle?
The essence of the contract is not the wording, but the intention of the wording.
Ahsant. The qa'idah in Arabic, who remembers it in Arabic? Al-ibratu
في المعاني في المقاصد لا بالمباني.
نعم. العبرة في الألفاظ بالمقاصد والمعاني لا بالمباني. There's a fiqh principle which says that in wording in statements, we place consideration upon the intention of the person's words, not the meaning of the words themselves. Okay? So in this case, when this person said, I gift you my car for £2,000, although the word gift, we all know what it means, but this person, his intention, because he said £2,000, was, I'm going to sell you my car. So we look at the context. We don't look at his words. We look at his intentions. And the intention, we know the intention from the context. If I say to you, I'm gifting you my car for £2,000, obviously because there's a monetary, there's a value there, there's a price there, I mean I'm going to sell you my car. Maybe in my custom, gift means selling. Do you understand? So the answer would be A.
Yeah, it's happened with me one time when I went to a library. I went to buy Holy Quran. I said to him, to the man there, I want to buy the Holy Quran. I said, no, it's not buying. This is a gift with something.
Gift with?
With some money, with the amount of money. Don't say I want to sell or buy the Holy Quran.
Okay.
Say this is a gift with something.
Exactly, yes. So it's still buying. It's still buying, but he doesn't want to say buying and selling. He wants to use the word gift. So khalas, to give him whatever he wants and take it from him as a gift. Number 7, Uthman, his mains water supply and sewer were leaking into his neighbor's flat. Okay, so his neighbor now is in harm's way, right? What should Uthman do? The Qadi, the judge, comes to Uthman and he says to him, Uthman, A, you have to fix the problem because it's causing harm to your neighbor. Or B, the neighbor should fix the problem as this affects him. Why should Uthman care?
I lost from beginning.
Okay, yalla, marra ukhra. Uthman, he has his his water supply, his pipes, okay, are leaking into his neighbor's flat. Yeah, so Uthman lives upstairs, the neighbor lives downstairs. And the neighbor, there's water dripping because of the pipes that belong to Uthman. Okay, the Qadi, the judge, can either say to him, A, Uthman, go and fix the problem because you are harming your neighbor. Or B, Uthman, you don't need to fix anything. It doesn't affect you. The neighbor has to fix his own problem. Which is the right one? A. This is based on which qa'idah?
Because it's a hukum wada'i, so you need to do...
I know, but before hukum al-wad'i, what is the qa'idah and the principle? Ad-dararu yuzal. Na'am. Ad-dararu yuzal. Harm is to be removed. Harm is to be removed. Okay?
If Uthman owned the house, it is his house, he have to fix it because he's Arabic.
Of course, yes. The landlord should fix it. Na'am. Ahsant, yes. Correct. Question 8. Khadija's husband decided to take a second wife. Khadija's husband decided to take a second wife. Khadija told him, Ittaqillah, fear Allah. And she cited the principle, Ad-dararu yuzal, harm is to be removed. She cited the evidence, harm has to be removed. She's a faqihah. Okay, she has fiqh. Okay, now the husband, Khadija's husband, whom we shall not name for obvious reasons, he's in a predicament. A, what he did is wrong. Yani him looking for a second wife or taking a second wife, A, is wrong. Because it causes the first wife harm, and in Islam, harm is to be eliminated. Or B, what he did is allowed. because the harm here is overlooked. Or C, he can only take a second wife if the first wife gives him permission. If the first wife assures him that no harm will come to her, or if he assures the first wife that no harm will come to her. Basically, she gives him permission. Which one? A, B or C, my brothers? Huh? B. What he did is permitted as this harm is overlooked. Why is the harm overlooked?
Because it's in the legislation.
Huh? Because?
Allah made it halal.
Because yes, there is harm. Sah. The first wife will be harmed. Miskina. May Allah make things easy for her. We make dua for her. She will be harmed, of course. However, Allah Azza wa Jal, He said, فَانْكِحُوا مَا طَابَ لَكُم مِّنَ النِّسَاءِ إيش مثنى وثلاثة ورباع. Because Allah Azza wa Jal has made it halal and He knows that it will cause her harm, that harm is overlooked because of this evidence and this dalil. Don't worry, brothers. Your answers are going to be kept private and secret, inshallah. Naam, tfadal. Sheikh, tfadal.
Conditions on the person who's going to take a second wife in relation to whether he has the means to marry a second wife. Because if, say, he needs £100 to keep the first wife for his house.
Yeah, there's some conditions. Yeah, I mean, he has to be financially able to support her, physically able, the same conditions as marrying the first wife, but now the second wife. So the usual conditions of financial stability, he's able to have two wives and he can physically, the ulama, they mentioned this, he can physically satisfy all of his wives, etc. All of these conditions have to be met, yani. And also within reason. Yani, the general rule is that that you shouldn't, establish a second family if the first family is going to be broken and destroyed. It doesn't really make any logical sense, ala ayyi. But yeah, there are conditions now. But the asl is that it is halal. Jameel. Salih ate some garlic and onions 1 hour before the Salatul Jama'ah. Salih loves garlic and onions. Just before Dhuhr prayer, 45 minutes before Dhuhr prayer, he couldn't resist. He ate his garlic and his onions. What should he do? A, he should pray in the masjid, as this is wajib and a great maslahah. And we know that the maslahah takes precedence over the mafsada. What's maslahah? The good. The greater good takes precedence over the harm. Or B, he is not allowed to pray in the masjid, as the foul smell will cause a mafsada. And the mafsada takes precedence over the maslahah. Which one? B. The mafsada takes precedence over the maslahah. Okay. When does the mafsada take precedence over the maslahah? No. When the mafsada is greater than the maslahah.
And there is another part that says عندما تساوى تقدم المفسدة على المصلحة عندما تساوى المصلحة والمفسدة.
نعم أحسن نعم. And when the mafsada and the maslahah are both equal, then the mafsada, then repelling the evil is given precedence over attracting the benefit. Okay. Next question. While a woman is traveling, her menses stop, and the only source of water is a river. Obviously, she stops bleeding, so she has to. What does she need to do now? Ghusl. She has to make ghusl. But she's traveling, and the only source of water is a river, flowing river. A, what should she do now? A, since she must pray and it's time for the salah, she must bathe in the river and risk other people seeing her for the greater good of the salah. Or B, she should not bathe in a public place, as this is a great mafsada. So she prays as she is. She prays as she is, without making ghusl, because it's time for the salah. Or C, since she cannot bathe in a public place, or she can't have ghusl and pray upon impurity, the obligation of the salah is lifted from her until she finds water. Which one? C or B or A? Okay, who says C? Okay, since she cannot bathe in a public place or pray upon... Okay, who says B? Okay, those who say C, why? Well, are you saying that the salah is no longer wajib upon her? The salah is no longer wajib. What's the based on what? Based on what? نعم. Are you going to answer C? Yeah. أنت من أصحاب C?
من أصحاب B.
لا. إذن من أصحاب C. Well, I'm coming to you. If you're from أصحاب C, are you from أصحاب C?
Yeah.
Okay.
Maybe she can combine prayers.
So you're not from أصحاب C.
The C.
C is basically she cannot bathe in a public place or pray upon impurity. She doesn't have to pray. The obligation of the salah is lifted. Okay. Who can justify C? نعم تفضل.
Because she's in upon major impurity, so it's not that she can pray. Like she can't pray without wudu because it's a major impurity, right?
Okay. What about the salah?
What about the salah?
It's time for Maghrib prayer. She's traveling. She could be traveling for days and days. So you're saying she doesn't pray for days and days? No salah, khalas?
Does it depend on how long the travel is in the situation? Because it says until she can find water. Maybe
you have to justify with a dalil, with the evidence, an ayah, a hadith, something. Give me something to justify C based on what you've learnt. The answer is literally what you've all learnt. Okay, so you don't have a dalil. Let's move to B. Those who say B, see, she prays as is. What is your evidence?
The maslaha is more.
The maslaha of what?
Of salah on time is more important
than the mafsada of praying without
the
tahara. Okay, so brothers, we have here. Okay, we have هنا تعارض المصالح, right? We have here, we have a maslaha, a good. The good here is what? Praying. And we have here a mafsada. The mafsada is impurity. She is upon evil, harm. She is upon impurity. The maslaha of the salah and the mafsada of the impurity, which one is greater? Which one is greater? The maslaha or the mafsada? Greater, when we say greater, I mean which one? Obtaining the maslaha of the salah, is it greater than repelling the mafsada of impurity here?
The prayer is greater.
Sorry? The prayer is greater. The prayer here is greater. Okay? So if the prayer is greater, it takes precedence. So she has to pray as she is.
Yeah, because some scholars said المؤمن لا ينجس في هذه اللحظة يعني.
نعم صح نعم. So the yanjus here is basically نعم. The mu'min himself, that your body doesn't become najis. It's just something external. So Allah Azza wa Jalla also says فَاتَّقُوا اللَّهَ مَا اسْتَطَعْتُمْ. Fear Allah as much as you're able to. So the answer here is B. The answer here is B. 11. Adam is in the middle of the desert and he needs to pray. He doesn't know the direction of the Qibla and it's time for Salah. Okay, what should he do? So Adam finds himself in the middle of the desert. Let's give this to Adam. What's the answer, Adam? Sorry? A. He prays in any direction. Naam. He prays in any direction. Okay? Or should we say that the salah is not wajib upon him since the qibla isn't clear? Or he should pray istikhara first. So A. He prays in any direction. Okay? 12. Khadija cannot find water or any dirt to make tayammum and it's time for the salah. Okay, so Khadija cannot find any water or any dust or dirt to make tayammum and it's time for the salah. A. She no longer needs to pray, or B. She should pray as this is a greater maslaha than the mafsada of praying without purity. Which one? B. Naam. 13. Ismail is stuck in a desert with a 500 milliliter bottle of water only. He's in a desert and he only has a 500 milliliter bottle of water. Okay? If he drinks it, he cannot make wudu. If he makes wudu with it, he dies of thirst. What's the answer? A. He should make wudu with it and place his trust in Allah Azza wa Jal, as the salah always comes first. Or B. He should drink it and make tayammum, as saving his life comes first. Or C. He should drink it only and the obligation of salah is removed from him until he can find water. Which one? B. He should drink it and make tayammum as saving his life comes first. Okay? Saving his life comes first. So B is the correct answer. Jameel. Again, this is pertaining to the qa'id of the masalih and the mafasid. Okay. 14. Maymuna forgot to pray Fajr, and she only remembered 10 minutes before the Asr prayer entered. She is also yet to pray Dhuhr. What should she do? So Maymuna, she forgot to pray Fajr. She's human, she forgot, she slept, she woke up, then she forgot to pray. And just 10 minutes before the Asr prayer she entered, she remembered that she didn't pray Fajr. She is also yet to pray Dhuhr. For some reason she also hasn't prayed Dhuhr. What should she do? A. Pray Dhuhr first and then make up Fajr. Or B. Make up Fajr first and then make up Dhuhr in Asr time. Or C. Pray Asr first and then make up both Dhuhr and Fajr afterwards. Which one? Okay, so we have two opinions here. Some of you say A, some of you say C. So those who say A, pray Dhuhr first and then make up Fajr. Why do you say A?
So that she doesn't miss Dhuhr also?
So she doesn't, so because she's now at Asr, there's 10 minutes to Asr. Asr prayer has not entered yet. We are still in the time of Dhuhr prayer. Okay? So she should pray Fajr. She should pray, did you say A, right?
Yeah.
She should pray Dhuhr first in those 10 minutes and then make up Fajr. Okay. Why?
She risks missing Dhuhr as well.
Sorry?
She risks missing Dhuhr. So it's going to be 2 salahs that she has to make up.
Yeah, because she uses those 10 minutes to pray Fajr. By the time she finishes Fajr, she also has to now make up Dhuhr. Okay, so what if someone comes to you and says to you, but the tartib is wajib, the sequencing is wajib, according to all of the scholars. So bima'na, you have to pray, if you've missed 2 prayers or 3 prayers, you have to pray them continuously in sequence. You have to pray Fajr, then Dhuhr, then Asr. Let's say you wake up at Maghrib time. You have to pray Fajr, and then Dhuhr, and then Asr, and then Maghrib. So what do we respond to those people who say that the tartib, the sequencing, is wajib? How do we respond to them? Naam.
Is the maslaha bigger than the mafsada of removing the tartib or not doing the tartib?
Yes, there is a maslaha, of course. Yes, there is a maslaha.
If not missing the prayer. It's more
Yes, and also the maslaha of praying Dhuhr in its appointed time is greater than the tartib here. Why? Because you've already missed Fajr. Khalas. You've already missed Fajr. So why miss Dhuhr as well? In those 10 minutes, pray Dhuhr first and then pray Fajr afterwards. Okay? As for those who say C, pray Asr first, but Asr, it's not even time for Asr yet. Those 10 minutes, should you wait? It's not even time for Asr yet. So the answer is pretty obvious that it's wrong.
Is it from masalih?
It's from masalih and mafasid. Naam. Question 15. Abdullah needs to make Hajj and he also needs to spend on his family. But he only has enough money to do one of the two. What should he do? A. Make Hajj because the rights of Allah come first. Or B. Spend on his family as the rights of his family come first. Or C. Get the permission of his wife. Which one? Huh? Which one? Sorry? B. Spend on his family as the rights of his family come first. And C as well, inshallah. B and C together. Okay, B and C, so that the sisters don't get angry with us, inshallah. Number 16. Juwairiya's son urinated on her abaya. She forgot to wash her abaya and she prayed with it. This happens all the time. A mother, she's running around. The 1-year-old, 2-year-old urinates on the abaya. She's going to wash it and she forgets to wash it. She puts it on and prays. Okay. A. Her salah is invalid and she should repeat the salah. Or B. Her salah is valid and there is no sin on her. Which one? Her salah is valid, but she prayed upon najasa. How can it be valid? Naam. What about nisyan? أحسنت بارك الله. That's what I was looking for. أحسنت جزاك الله خير. والخطأ والنسيان والإكراه أسقطه معبودنا الرحمن. Okay, the khata, what's a khata? Mistakes, things that you do unintentionally, by mistake. والنسيان, forgetfulness. والإكراه, forgetfulness, النسيان here, jahl also, ignorance. And ikrah, things that are you have to do, يعني things that you're forced to do under duress. أسقطه معبودنا الرحمن. يعني Allah Azza wa Jal has given us a concession and an allowance. Okay, so her salah is valid, there is no sin on her because she forgot. 17, Maria prayed by mistake without wudu. What is the ruling here? So she prayed by mistake without wudu. What's the ruling here? Her salah is valid since she forgot. Or B, her salah is invalid and she must repeat it but the sin is lifted. Or C, it depends on her intention. Or D, if she prayed towards the qibla, her salah is valid, otherwise not. Which one? Did you say D or B? B. Okay, B, her salah is invalid and she must repeat it but the sin is lifted. So what's the difference between Juwayriyah and Maria? What's the difference? Juwayriyah's salah is valid, there's no sin on her. And Maria's salah is invalid and also no sin. What's the difference between Juwayriyah and Maria's salah? They both forgot. Sorry? Which one is hukum taklifi?
With the wudu.
Maria. Naam. And hukum wad'i? Is Juwayriyah. Naam. That's one difference. The second difference is what?
There's a specific delete for 16 where the Prophet ﷺ prayed with his shoes and then he...
Ahsant. There's a, naam, and also 17 as well. Umar al-Khattab radiyallahu naam. There's a specific evidence for 16 as well. The Prophet ﷺ, what's the hadith?
So he basically prayed with the shoes and there was some impurity on the shoes.
Naam.
And then basically Jibreel informed him that
in the salah.
I took it off but he didn't repeat
the previous rak'at. Sah, exactly. Naam. That's the difference. Naam.
Can you also use the fact that because since it's a command and when there's a command the sin is not, you don't get the sin but you have to do the thing again.
Naam, naam. If it's awamir, naam. So the awamir and the commands are more strict. The shari'ah is more strict on them, more than the nawahi, more than the prohibitions. Naam. Your 5-year-old son, 18, your 5-year-old son smashed your neighbor's window. Okay? He had a huge brick and he smashed your neighbor's window. Allah musta'an. Show which troublemaker. A, you are sinful for not controlling your child, but no liabilities upon you. Or B, you are sinful and you are liable for damages. Or C, you are not sinful and you are not liable for damages. Or D, you are not sinful but you are liable for damages. Which one? D, you are not sinful but you are liable for damages. Okay, so you have to obviously, the smashed window, you have to fix it. Okay, but you're not going to be sinful unless you sent your son and you gave the brick to your son and you said, yeah, Ibni, go and smash the neighbor's window, then you're sinful. No. 19, Michelle, who is not a Muslim, has many Muslim friends and she hears a lot about Islam. She even read a few books on the subject of Islam. She even watched, what's that movie, the film that the message that they Risala, she even watched it. Okay, I'm not condoning it, not saying you to watch it, but for the purposes of this example, she watched it. She dies upon kufr, unfortunately. She was a kafir obviously before and she died upon kufr. What is her hukum and her ruling? A, she is excused by Allah due to her ignorance. Or B, she is not excused and will enter the fire for all of eternity because she died upon kufr. Or C, we do not know. We cannot place a ruling on her. Or D, we pray for her and we place flowers on her grave and we bury her amongst the Muslims. Which one? Sorry? B, she is not excused and will enter the fire for all of eternity. There's a group of people known as the Murji'ah. Okay? They don't like to place rulings on known ahkam. So if you say to them, mathalan, my neighbor John died upon kufr. He used to go to church every Sunday and he died. They will come up to you and say, how do you know he didn't change his mind in the last few seconds of his life? Were you there with him? He may be Muslim. How do you know? Okay? These people are known as the Murji'ah. Opposite of them is the Takfiriyun. They go to the other extreme. The Takfiriyun, they make takfir of the person who's the mu'adhin, the person making the adhan, saying Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah, Ashhadu anna Muhammad Rasulullah. They make takfir of him. And they say, how do you know he may have become kufr just a few seconds before he died? So those two, Ahlul Sunnah wal Jama'ah, are fil wasat, are in the middle. Michael just accepted Islam. Michael, he was in the masjid Salam, and mashallah, tabarakallah, he accepted Islam. He went home and he was so happy that he opens a bottle of wine to celebrate. What is the hukum and the ruling? He just accepted Islam. Look at the context, the su'al here. He wasn't Muslim for many years. He just accepted Islam. In sheer happiness and delight, he went home. The first thing he did, he opened the fridge. He's accustomed to this. He celebrated with a bottle of wine. He has committed a major sin and is sinful. Or B, he is excused due to ignorance and the fact that he just accepted Islam. Or C, the sin is on the brothers in the masjid that did not teach him. The brothers in Masjid Salam, they should have checked his fridge. So which one? A, B or C, my brothers? Sorry? B, he is excused due to his ignorance. So jahl here. So the excuse here is ignorance because he just accepted Islam. But if he was Muslim for years and years and he did it, he would not be excused. Okay. 21. Bernardo lives in the Amazon forest and has never seen any civilization. He has never heard of Islam before and he dies upon this state. He's never read a book. He lives in the middle of the forest. He doesn't know anything about Islam. He's never heard the Prophet Muhammad's name, sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Never heard Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah. Nothing. A, he will enter the fire as he died upon kufr. Or B, he will enter Jannah as he did not know anything about Islam. Or C, he will be tested in the Akhirah and his affair is with Allah. C. Okay, let's look at the first one. A, he will enter the fire as he died upon kufr. Why is this the wrong answer? Because he didn't hear about Islam. The Prophet ﷺ, he said, Wallahi, by Allah, no one hears about me and my message and doesn't believe in me except that they will enter the fire. Hears, the Prophet said. Did he hear? No. 2, he's not going to enter Jannah because he's not a Muslim, technically speaking. He didn't say Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah. So the answer is C, he's from Ahlul Fatra. Ibn al-Qayyim mentions this. He's from the Ahlul Fatra, the people that will be tested on Yawm al-Qiyamah by Allah Azza wa Jal. Final question. Okay. Iman did not know that you must wash your face when making wudu. Washing the face in wudu is what? What's the hukum of washing the face in wudu? يا الذين ركن يا الذين آمنوا إذا قمتم إلى الصلاة فاغسلوا وجوهكم. So she did not know that you must wash your face when making wudu. So she prayed like this. What is the ruling on her salah?
Invalid.
Her salah is valid or invalid?
Valid.
Okay, Abdurrahman, you said valid, yes?
Yeah.
Did you say valid? Because she was ignorant of the ruling and there's no sin. Why did you say valid?
She was ignorant. Even though
So here, ignorance is a reason, in your opinion, yes? Okay, those who say her salah is invalid, why is her salah invalid? No.
Even if you were ignorant of a pillar, it still is not accepted because the pillar, instead of it being like a...
Okay, good answer, yes, na'am.
Yeah, as far as first it should be upon you to have knowledge of like the necessities of Islam.
Na'am. So the answer is that her salah is invalid. Why? Because firstly, she is someone who prays. So she's a Muslim. So she prays. So she should make an effort to learn about wudu. So that means that she was muqassira. She had shortcomings. Why didn't she learn that washing the face is part of wudu? It's a rukun. So ignorance here is not an excuse for her. Okay? also number 2, this is from the awamir. This is like a rukun and from the awamir. And the awamir, ignorance is not a sufficient excuse to lift the person, to lift the sin of that person. So she is liable and she is also here sinful. And that concludes the questions in Al-Qawaaid Al-Fiqhiyyah. So today's lesson, na'am.
But did you say it was C? She's liable and she's sinful.
So her salah is invalid. She must make it up, but there is no sin. So yes, A. I think A is the right answer. Okay, A is the right answer because C says her salah is valid. C says her salah is valid. Okay, so A is the right answer. Jameel. So today's principle is we're going to start reading from the line 19. Line number 19. والأصل في مياهنا الطهارة والأرض والثياب والحجارة. So Al-Imaam As-Sa'di, he says والأصل, the default ruling in water, okay, is tahara, purification. And the default ruling والأرض in when it comes to the earth, is that it is pure. Okay? And the default ruling in clothing is that it is pure. And the default ruling in hijara, stones, is that it is pure. Okay? So what that means basically is that if you come across some water, a bottle of water, you don't know what is in it. You weren't there when it was being poured into. The water looks clean, it's transparent. You shouldn't ask, is this water pure or impure? The asl is that it is pure. If you're walking under a bridge, and then some water comes and trickles down on you, hits your thobe, you don't need to go smelling the water. You don't have to smell the water. It is pure. The asl is that it is pure. If, for example, you're walking and you step on some water or liquid on the ground, the asl is that it's pure. If you sit down somewhere, you sit down on a chair, and the chair is wet, maybe it was a child that urinated, you don't know, you don't have to investigate. The asl is that matter, it is pure, tahara. Similarly, the earth that you pray on, okay, is everywhere is pure. Until an evidence comes and something clear tells you that it's not pure. So the earth, everywhere on the earth is pure, except those places which our legislator has told us is not pure. Similarly, clothes are pure, and clothes are, the asl with clothes is that it is halal. You are allowed to wear any type of clothing. This is the asl. The basic ruling is that you are allowed to wear any type of clothing unless something makes it haram. So mathalan, if two people differ, we have Zayd and we have Amr. Zayd says this water is pure. Amr says no, it is impure. The onus or the burden of proof is upon Zayd or Amr.
The one who says impure.
Amr, the one who says it's impure. Okay? If, for example, Zayd and Amr, they differ, this place that you prayed upon is impure. Zayd says it's pure, Amr says it's impure. The proof is upon whom? Amr. Similarly, clothing. Zayd says what you're wearing is haram, and Zayd says it's halal. The onus of proof is upon whom? The one who says it's haram. The one who says it's haram. Okay? Like a watch. Should you wear, someone says you can't wear it in your left hand. The shaitan uses the left hand. It's haram. And someone says it's halal. The onus of halal and haram is upon whom? The one who says haram has to give us an evidence and say this is haram. Now wearing your watch on your left hand is haram. He has to bring the evidence. And hijara, stones. Okay, stones and hijara is basically, this is a tabi' lil ard. Yani this is hijara, stones, this falls into the category of everything that is on the earth. So with regards to water being pure, what is the evidence that water is pure, generally speaking? In Surah Al-Furqan, verse 48, Allah says, وَأَنزَلْنَا مِنَ السَّمَاءِ مَاءً طَهُورًا. وَأَنزَلْنَا مِنَ السَّمَاءِ مَاءً طَهُورًا. What is the evidence that the earth is considered to be pure. The ground is considered to be pure. The hadith of Jabir ibn Abdullah, where the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he says, وَجُعِلَتْ لِي الْأَرْضُ مَسْجِدًا وَطَهُورًا. The whole earth has been made a place of prayer and a place of purity and purification. Okay? As for thiyab, clothing, the proof that all clothes are halal and pure, okay, except if there is an external evidence that makes it haram, the actions of the Sahaba and the Prophet ﷺ. The Prophet and the Sahaba, they used to wear the same clothes as Abu Jahl and Abu Lahab and the Mushrikun of Quraysh. The Prophet wore the same clothing as them. So did the Sahaba. So that is evident. And they were the ones that were making these clothes. Okay, they were the ones that were making these clothes. So that is evidence that clothing is considered to be pure and halal. Now, the next qa'idah is, so this is like a dabit. Remember the difference between a controller and a qa'idah? This is a dabit. Al-aslu fi miyahina tahara. This is a dabit or a controller in the chapter, in the bab of what? Tahara. All of that is in bab al-tahara. Okay. The next qa'idah is al-aslu fil abda'i wal-aslu fil abda'i wal-luhumi wal-nafsi wal-amwali lil-ma'sumi tahrimuha hatta yaji al-hillu fafham hadaka Allahu ma yumallu. So wal-aslu, the default ruling, fil abda' and fil ibda', both are correct.
Al-ibda' is contract of marriage, but al-abda' is al-furuj.
أحسنت بارك الله فيك. نعم لا فض فوق. والأصل في الأبضاع الإبضاع. Okay, so the default ruling in al-abda' is عقد النكاح, the contract of the nikah contract, marriage contract. The default ruling in al-ibda' is the marriage contract. Al-ibda' with the kasra is the marriage contract. But here the author means al-abda'. Al-abda' means private parts, sexual intercourse. That's what it means, private parts. So the default ruling when it comes to private parts is that it is haram. Okay? The default ruling when it comes to al-luhum, meat, okay, products, is that it is haram. The default ruling in nafs, in life, in life and wealth, al-amwal, is that it is sacred and considered to be sacred and haram. What does this mean? So if we go back to al-abda', so al-abda' is private parts. So it means that the basic ruling, the default ruling, is that all women are haram for you to touch. Okay? That's the default ruling. Let's say, for example, you for some reason, an example. This is just an example for you to understand. Your wife has a twin sister. Okay? Identical twin sister. And you weren't able for some reason to differentiate between the two. Okay? You didn't know, you couldn't differentiate between the two. Both of them become haram for you to touch. Both of them become haram for you to touch. Until one of them makes herself known to you. Okay? One of them makes herself known to you, or you have other evidences. Okay? Likewise, if a person wants to marry basically a woman, but he forgot whether she breastfed with him when he was a child. They breastfed from the same mother, or was it her sister? He wasn't sure. Was it her or her sister? Okay, he's not sure, but he wants to marry this woman. Let's call her Hind. He wants to marry Hind. Okay, but he's not sure whether Hind and him, or whether Hind or her sister, they breastfed together and him. Do you understand? So then she becomes his sister from breastfeeding, right? From suckling, right? So both of them become halal or haram? both of them become haram. Because al-aslu fil abda'i at-tahrim. That's the asl. So the shari', the legislator, يغلب جانب الحذر. The legislator gives precedence to the tahrim and to the sanctity more than to the hil, more than to the hil. So the shari' errs to caution, errs to the side of caution. That's for al-abda'. As for al-ibda' bikasri al-hamza, then this is aqd al-nikah. The default ruling in aqd al-nikah is halal. The default ruling when it comes to aqd al-nikah, marriage contracts, is that all marriage contracts are halal for you. You can marry any woman you want, okay? As long as there is no external evidence, nothing stopping you legislatively from marrying her. Okay? So there's a difference between the two. So marriage contracts, halal for you. As for private parts, haram. Okay? And as for al-luhum, here luhum has two meanings. Luhum here means animals. Animals that are slaughtered or sacrificed. Okay, so the asl when it comes to sacrificing an animal is that every animal for you is haram for you to eat unless that animal has been sacrificed according to the shari'ah. Okay, according to the shari'ah. Yani the name of Allah was mentioned upon it. That's what so luhum here means bahimatul an'am. Okay? Luhum, if luhum here means general food, then the asl is that it is halal. Then the asl is that mada? It is halal. So luhum is divided into two categories. Bahimatul an'am, animals, okay? Yani cattle, goats, sheep, and camels. The asl is that you cannot eat them unless they have been slaughtered according to the shari'ah. Okay? And no animal, you cannot eat any animal unless there is a dalil for it. Until there's an evidence for it. So you're allowed to eat a gazelle, مثلا. There's nothing, you're allowed to eat a gazelle as long as it's been slaughtered according to the sharia. وهكذا. As for general food, then you can't eat, the asl for general food is that it is halal. Everything, هو الذي خلق لكم ما في الأرض جميعا. Everything has been made halal for us. والنفس, the asl when it comes to the life, taking when it comes to sacred lives, is that you cannot take someone's life. The asl is that every life is sacred. Every life is sacred. Okay? Every life is sacred. And the asl is that all wealth is also sacred. You cannot take someone and consume other people's wealth unlawfully. They are sacred. Okay. So the evidence for al-abda', private parts, being haram is Allah Azza wa Jal making zina haram. وَلَا تَقْرَبُوا الزِّنَا. The ayat of zina. Do not go near zina. This is the evidence for it. As for al-luhum and as for the fact that meat is considered haram, then or animals bahimatul an'am, then the proof of this is the hadith of Aideed ibn Abi Hatim. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he said to Aideed, "O Aideed, if you find فإن وجدت مع كلبك كلبا آخر." O Aideed, he said to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he said, إذا أرسلت كلبك المعلم, if you send your trained dog, if you have a trained canine or dog, and you send it to go and attack or hunt an animal, a gazelle or a deer مثلا, فقتل, and then it kills it, the dog catches that prey and it kills it, then eat from it. Okay, then eat from it. فَكُلْ, the Prophet said, فَكُلْ. وَإِذَا أَكَلَ, but if that trained dog then starts to consume the flesh of its catch, of its prey, then the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, فَلَا تَأْكُلْ, do not eat it. فَإِنَّمَا أَمْسَكَهُ عَلَى نَفْسِهِ, because this trained dog was hunting for itself. So we are allowed when we go, we are allowed to go hunting. If you have a trained dog and you send the dog to catch a prey, it catches the prey and it doesn't eat it, then you're allowed to eat it, consume it. But if it starts to consume it and eat it, then you're not allowed to eat it. Okay?
Even when it is dead.
Sorry?
Even the animal is dead.
But the animal died because of the catch, because of the hunt. But if the animal, for example, jumped into a river, if it jumped into a river and it drowned before the dog could catch it, then you're not allowed to touch it, because then it would be fi hukm al-mayta. Okay? Likewise, if you send an arrow, if you, for example, or you have a rifle mathalan, and you shoot the prey, and the prey is injured, and then it jumps into a river or a lake, and then it dies, then we're not allowed to touch it or eat it. We're not allowed to eat it. Why? Because we're not sure whether it died because of the drowning or it died because of your bullet. Okay? Or it died because of your bullet. Because of this, the asl is that it is haram, because we're not sure how it died. Unless you're sure it died because of your bullet. If it died, if it started to slow down and then it collapsed, then obviously it's clear it died because of your bullet. And there is evidences for this. The Prophet ﷺ, he said to Aideed, "O Aideed, if you find with your trained dog another dog, then do not eat it." So let's say your trained dog goes and takes catches the prey, and then the prey dies, and then there's another dog there, and you're behind your dog by a few miles or kilometers, and then you come after like 15-20 minutes and you find another dog there that's there, then you're not allowed to touch it, because you're not sure whether the prey died, that the second dog killed it, or was it your dog. You're not sure. So again, the tahrim, the sanctity, and the fact that it's haram, this takes precedence over the hil.
It's also dabit.
This is a dabit also, نعم.
Muamalat.
في المعاملات, نعم. So al-aslu fi nufus, and the asl in when it comes to life, when it comes to souls and the lives of other human beings, is that they are sacred and haram. Allah Azza wa Jal, He says with regards to lives and wealth, يا الذين آمنوا لا تأكلوا أموالكم بينكم بالباطل. O you who believe, do not consume each other's wealth in falsehood. And then He said ولا تقتلوا أنفسكم, do not kill yourselves, or do not cause your own destruction. In Surah An-Nisa, verse 29. So, in Islam, the judge or the qadi is allowed to take the life of another person for three reasons. For three reasons only. Number one is what? Ar-ridda, apostasy. Number two is if that life has taken another life unjustly. And number three, qisas, na'am. And number three is az-zina, for the one who is muhsan, the one who was previously married. So this is for the qadi and this is for the Islamic ruler. The next qaida principle is والأصل في عاداتنا الإباحة حتى يجيء صارف الإباحة. The asl, the default ruling in customs, is that all customs and things that are done out of habit and customs of a people is mubah, is allowed, until حتى يجيء صارف الإباحة, until something that something removes it from being mubah or changes the ruling from mubah to something else. Okay, so mubah here means that it is permissible and allowed. طيب, so this is the قاعدة here is العادة محكمة. العادة or العرف معمول به. عرف means customs of a people are considered, and they are considered allowed unless that custom or that habit basically contradicts the shari'ah, unless that custom or that habit contradicts the shari'ah. And the proof of this is in Surah Al-Baqarah verse 29. Allah Azza wa Jal, He says, هو الذي خلق لكم ما في الأرض جميعا. Allah is the one who created for you everything on the earth. The next قاعدة is وليس مشروعا من الأمور غير الذي في شرعنا مذكور. وليس مشروعا من الأمور. Nothing is legislated unless it is mentioned in our shari'ah. So the ulama, this qaida is titled or coined as Al-Aslu fil Ibadat At-Tawqif. The basic ruling, the default ruling in every ibadah is that you cannot act upon this ibadah without a dalil. You have to stop if you don't have an evidence. So if Zayd and Amr, they differ with one another with regards to ibadah. Zayd says this is ibadah, this is wajib. Amr says this is not wajib, this is not a ibadah. The burden of proof is upon which one? Zayd or Amr? The one who says is a ibadah. He has to bring the evidence and the proof. Okay? And the evidence for this is the hadith Aisha. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he said, "Man amila amalan laysa alayhi amruna fahuwa rad." Whoever does an action, amal, laysa alayhi amruna. Man amila amalan, whoever does an action or acts upon something that is not based upon an evidence, fahuwa rad, then this person, him and his action are rejected. Both himself and the action are rejected. And also, Hadith Al-Irbad al-Nasariya, the Hadith Al-Tawil, that you all know in Al-Tirmidhi, the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he said, فَإِنَّهُ مَنْ يَعِشْ مِنْكُمْ, whoever lives amongst you, فَسَيَرَ اخْتِلَافًا كَثِيرًا, will see many a contradiction, or many people opposing each other, many opinions clashing. وَإِيَّاكُمْ وَمُحْدَثَاتِ الْأُمُورِ, I warn you against innovated matters, for indeed they are misguidance, they cause misguidance. So it is important to know that every ibadah, every worship has to be aligned with the shari'ah. Every worship has to be muwafiq ma'a shari'ah, has to be in accordance with the shari'ah in 6 things. So every worship has to be in accordance with the shari'ah in 6 things. Okay? Number 1, as-sabab, in the reason. Number 1, the as-sabab, in the reason for the ibadah. Number 2, al-jins, in the type of ibadah. Number 3, al-qadr, in the quantity. Number 4, the kayfiyyah and the hay'ah, in the way the ibadah is performed, the how of the ibadah. Number 5, in al-makan, in the place the ibadah is performed. And number 6, az-zaman, in the time that the ibadah is performed. So every worship or every act of worship has to conform with the shari'ah in these 6 things. So number 1 is the sabab, the reason for the ibadah. So mathalan, we know from the hadith of Hudayfa that the Prophet ﷺ used to brush his teeth every time he entered his house. What was the reason for brushing the teeth? Entering the sabab. Ma huwa sababul istiyaq. Why did the Prophet brush his teeth? No. Why? What was the reason for brushing his teeth? When did he brush his teeth? When he entered the house. So the entering the house was a sabab and a reason for brushing the teeth. Okay, obviously the reason is to clean his teeth, etc. But he did it when he entered the house. So that is the sabab. Okay? So what if someone says, I'm going to brush my teeth every time I enter the masjid? Is this a sunnah? It's not a sunnah. It becomes a bid'ah. If a person does it sometimes, he does it unintentionally, he enters the masjid and he brushes his teeth, that's fine. But what if a person makes a habit out of it? Every single time they brush, every single time he enters the masjid, he brushes his teeth. He makes a habit out of it. It becomes mada? Bid'ah. So the sabab, the reason why you do a ibadah has to conform with the sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ. The same reason, the same sabab. Okay. Some people, they celebrate the Prophet's birthday. Sallallahu alaihi wasallam, Mawlid al-Nabawi. So the reason why they celebrate the Prophet's birthday is because they believe that it is now the time it is the Prophet's birthday, the 12th of Raby al-Awwal, right? So they believe that this is basically the sabab. This sabab, however, is this a legislative sabab? Did the shari', the legislator, create this sabab? No. Did Allah and His Messenger say, okay, every time my birthday arrives, comes, go and celebrate it? No. So the sabab here is, the sabab for this ibadah is not present in the shari'ah. Okay? So that's the first. Number two is al-jins, the type of ibadah. So the type. So مثلا الآن in udhiyah, you know the udhiyah and the hadi? In hajj you have hadi. And you have in ayyam al-hajj for the hujjaj, they slaughter bahimatul an'am, they slaughter an animal, right? Cattle. They slaughter sheep or cow or a camel. Okay? In the hadi and the udhiyah. So the type, the jins, the type of animal that is being slaughtered has been defined for us, right? What if someone says, I'm going to slaughter a chicken, or a rabbit, or a gazelle, or an ostrich? It becomes mada? Bid'ah. The slaughtering of this rabbit, is it the same jins type that the shari'ah has legislated, or different? It is different. So it becomes mada? Bid'ah. Okay? Number three, al-qadr, quantity. If someone says, I'm going to pray Salat al-Dhuhr for 5 raka'at, I'm going to fast in Ramadan 60 days. Shawwal will be my Ramadan. Khalas. So the quantity for them has changed. Maghrib, I'm going to make it 5. So the quantity is al-qadr, the quantity. Okay? Number 4, the kayfiyyah of the ibadah. If the person, the way that you perform the ibadah has to be similar to how the Prophet performed the ibadah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Okay, the kayfiyyah has to be the same. Okay. So if a person prays in a different way to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, then obviously it becomes khilaf as-sunnah, something that goes against the sunnah. Some ibadat are restricted to a single place. Where is, there's only one place in the world that you can make tawaf. Where is it? Kaaba. If someone says, Wallahi now, khalas, I'm going to make tawaf around Masjid Salam. 7 ashwat. Okay? Or as the Shia, you know the Shia did? In Karbala, they made their own Kaaba. They literally built their own Kaaba. I think it's in Karbala, or they're Husayniyat. And they make tawaf around that Kaaba. Okay? And some people make tawaf around a qabr and a grave, which is shirk, subhanAllah. Forget bid'ah, we've moved into the realm of shirk, wal-iyadhu billah. So, when you make hajj, if someone says, I'm going to make hajj in Bradford, of course that's going to be bid'ah, right? Nah. So there's only one place that you can make hajj, and it's in Mecca. You can't make hajj in Medina also. Okay? The mawaqit al-ihram. You know mawaqit al-ihram? What are the mawaqit al-ihram? The places in which that you make ihram from, that you enter the state of Umrah and the state of Hajj in. So for every people, Mecca is in the middle, right? For every people, they have their own miqat. The miqat of Ahlul Medina is what? Is a place called Dhul Hulayfa. Dhul Hulayfa, which is the miqat of the people of Medina. If someone says, I'm going to make ihram from my hotel room in Medina, then this becomes mada? Bid'ah. Okay, so that's a specific place. As for zaman, time, some ibadat are restricted to a particular time. Ramadan is in Ramadan, right? If someone says in Rajab, I'm going to fast my Ramadan now, Rajab, because in Ramadan I'm going to be traveling, I'm going to be working, so I'm going to fast my Ramadan in Rajab. This becomes mada? A bid'ah. If a person prays dhuhr before the zawal and says, I'm going to pray dhuhr at 9 a.m. because at 12 I'm going to be working, so this becomes mada? A bid'ah, and something that's not according to the sunnah of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. The next qa'idah is وسائل الأمور كالمقاصد واحكم بهذا الحكم للزوائد. So وسائل الأمور كالمقاصد. وسائل الأمور are the means to an objective. The means to an objective have the same ruling as the objective itself. واحكم بهذا الحكم, and give the same ruling to zawaid. Give the same ruling to additional acts. So, when a person goes to the masjid, the walking to the masjid is called what? A wasila. When you walk from your house to the masjid, this is a wasila. This is a means to the objective. The reason you're walking to the masjid is to go and pray. So the objective is the salah, right? So this walking, if the salah is wajibah, then this wasila becomes wajib itself, okay? And coming back from the masjid to your house is called a zaid or zawaid or a tawabi'. Tawabi', zawaid, zaid, tabi', all of them mean the same thing, okay? They also have the same ruling. So walking back from the masjid to the house, to your house, you get rewarded for it as well. Now,
if you can't walk and then the driving is the wasila, would that be wajib?
Na'am, driving would be the wajib. Na'am. Not walking was an example. Driving would become wajib if you have a car. Na'am.
So this, in terms of the word, is it in terms of the reward, that is the same as the objective?
Na'am, the same as the objective that you came from.
And in terms of like going to the masjid, that's the same in terms of the wajib obligation.
Na'am. So wasa'il al-umuri, the means to an objective, have the same ruling as the objective itself. So if the objective is to pray in the masjid, and praying in the masjid is wajib, that's the main objective, that's the ghaya, then anything that you do to get to that objective becomes wajib as well, and you get rewarded for it as well. So wearing your clothes, driving your car, or walking, taking the bus, whatever you use to get there becomes wajib as well. Coming back from that objective, also you're rewarded for it as well, because you were there because of that objective. So Allah Azza wa Jal, in His mercy and hikmah and rahmah and compassion, rewards us for coming back as well. So this qa'idah has two different, is divided into two. The first is أن الوسائل لها أحكام المقاصد. The wasa'il, the means, wasa'il are the means. The means have the same ruling as the objectives. The means to an objective have the same ruling as the objective. The second is توابع الأعمال ومتمماتها. أن توابع الأعمال ومتمماتها لها أحكام المقاصد. All acts that are connected to the objectives after the completion of that objective have the same ruling as the objective. Again, all acts that are connected to that objective after the completion of the objective have the same ruling as the objective. Okay? So, as the proof of this is in Surah Yasin, verse 12. Allah Azza wa Jalla, He says, "Inna nahnu nuhyi al-mawta wa naktubu ma qaddamu wa atharahum." Allah Azza wa Jalla, He says, we are the ones who give life to the dead. وَنَكْتُبُ مَا قَدَّمُوا, and we have recorded what the actions that they have done, with the actions that they did whilst they were alive, وَآثَارَهُمْ, and their traces and steps after those actions, the traces of those actions, or the acts that were connected to those actions as well. So that's an evidence as well.
What number was that?
Surah verse 12, Yasin verse 12. Also from the hadith of Abu Hurairah, the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alayhi wasallam, he said, وَمَنْ سَلَكَ طَرِيقًا يَلْتَمِسُ فِيهِ عِلْمًا سَحَّلَ اللَّهُ لَهُ سَحَّلَ اللَّهُ بِهِ طَرِيقًا إِلَى الْجَنَّةِ. The Prophet sallallahu alayhi wasallam, he says, whoever treads a path to knowledge, وَمَنْ سَلَكَ طَرِيقًا يَلْتَمِسُ فِيهِ عِلْمًا, whoever treads a path to knowledge, يَلْتَمِسُ فِيهِ عِلْمًا, يعني this person is treading this path to knowledge, then Allah Azza wa Jalla makes the path of Jannah easy for this person. So the Prophet mentions treading the path to knowledge. So what's the maqsad and the objective here? What's the objective here? Knowledge. And what's the wasila here? The walking, treading the path to knowledge. Everything that you do to get to knowledge, buying books, putting petrol in your tank, wearing your thobe, buying a pen, buying a book, everything that you do, every effort that you make to get to that knowledge, Allah will reward you for it. Even sometimes you may not even realize it. Okay? And after you go home, the effort that it takes for you to get back to your home, you also will get rewarded for it. Driving back, walking back, all of that you get rewarded for it as well. What about when it comes to the other side of things, when it comes to the actual haram things? So, every wasila, every means to an objective has the same ruling as that objective. So if a person travels to Hajj, Hajj is wajib upon this person. So the plane ride and the flight becomes wajib upon them. Buying the ticket becomes wajib upon them. Booking the hotel becomes wajib upon them. Everything that they need to do to complete that Hajj becomes wajib upon them. Coming back from that Hajj also, they get rewarded for it as well. Okay, what if a person, their objective is to travel for a sin, in order to commit a sin. So they want to go to a country or a place and they want to commit they want to drink alcohol or commit certain acts or certain sins. The means to get there becomes what? What's the ruling of those means? Haram. Becomes haram. So the ticket, the plane ticket, the hotel, the every money, all the money that they spend to get there, it becomes haram. Okay. What about coming back from that flight or coming back from it? What is the ruling on that? Is it haram? Also, will they be sinful for it? The scholars, they divide it into different categories. The first category, do you understand the mas'ala, right? We're talking about a person coming back from a sin. So give it a simple example. A person, wal-'iyadhu billah, he goes, simple example, he wants to go to a pub in Cheshire. I don't know why, but let's use that as an example. He loves that pub for some reason. He wants to go to that pub in Cheshire and he wants to, wal-'iyadhu billah, drink alcohol there. Okay? And to get there, the driving to Cheshire, and he needs to add the petrol that he uses. This is a wasila. This is a means. So it's haram. He gets to the pub, he drinks the alcohol. Now driving back this is a tabi'. This is an act, an additional act. What is the ruling on it? Okay, it's different. There are different scenarios. Scenario number one, he drives back just to go home. So he drives back from the sin, but he doesn't, the sin is not affecting the driving back, okay, or going back. So in this instance, that tabi' is not counted against him. He's not sinful for it, okay. So he's not, the driving back, all of the things that he does to get home, it's not counted against him. That's the first scenario. The second scenario is the alcohol affects him so much that he falls ill. And he falls sick, and he has to be taken to hospital. And in the hospital, they have to give him some adwiya and some basically medicine, and everything that happens to him because of that sin that he incurred upon himself, he is sinful for it. Not only is he sick, so he's not benefiting anything from the dunya, wal-'iyadhu billah, he's also sinful for that act as well. Every salah that he misses, he's sinful for it. Every wajib that he misses, he's sinful for it as well, because of the fact that because of the sin itself. Because this happened as a result of the sin itself. Okay? So these are the two situations that the ulama mentioned with regards to this.
So is there an ikhtilaf about the tawabi'?
In terms of
its ruling in the ma'asi. We know that the wasa'il are haram.
Yes.
The tawabi' are they?
And that's what we're discussing. So the wasa'il are haram, but the tawabi' are two different scenarios. Scenario number one is if the tabi' does not affect anything. He's just going home. Then there's no sin upon him. Scenario number 2 is that the tabi', as a result of the maqsad, the tabi' affects him. Something happens to, like for example, he falls ill as a result of the sin. So everything that happens to him as a result of that sin, he's also sinful for it as well. Okay? And 25 and 26 والخطأ والإكراه والنسيان أسقطه معبودنا الرحمن لكن مع الإتلاف يثبت البدل وينتفي التأثيم عنه والزلل. We covered this, right? We covered this in التيسير والتخفيف. We covered these 2 lines in issues pertaining to التيسير والتخفيف. You remember? أسباب التخفيف we mentioned as 6. الخطأ والنسيان والإكراه والجهل والمرض والسفر. Okay, we covered them previously. And we covered the itlaf and the liability and issues pertaining to liability. Final مسألة إخوان, final مسألة, and we'll call it a night inshallah. ومن مسائل الأحكام في التبع يثبت لا إذا استقل فوقع. Okay, so يثبت, this قاعدة, this principle is يثبت تبعا ما لا يثبت استقلالا. So the ruling of connected matters is dependent upon the ruling of the mother issue. Okay? But if it is disconnected from it, it has a separate ruling. So again, the ruling of a connected matter, a matter that's connected to something else, is dependent upon the ruling of the mother issue, the issue that it's connected to. But if it is disconnected from that particular issue, it has a separate ruling. So to make it simple, in simple terms, يثبت تبعا ما لا يثبت استقلالا. There are certain things that have a ruling when they are on their own. But when they are connected to something else, they have a totally separate ruling. مثلا, what's the ruling on eating worms? Worms, you know worms? If a person takes a plate هكذا and then he starts to eat worms, الدود, worms and hasharat, these things are considered haram. We don't eat these things because they cause harm for you. Okay? Okay, so the ruling on eating worms, just worms now, we're talking about worms or small hasharat, dood, insects هكذا, is haram. Okay? What if, some dates, the tamar? If you open some tamar, you find worms in it. Right? Some small tiny worms in it. And I don't want to put you off dates, brothers. Inshallah, keep eating your dates, inshallah. But some dates, when you open them, they have certain small worms. Okay? So, what is the ruling on eating those dates? No.
If you, some people just eat it just like that without opening it. And I heard that the scholars say that that's fine.
That's fine, halal, عادي. There's Allah and His Messenger didn't say that you have to open every date, take a microscope and check it for worms. You eat it. Even though there's a good chance of being small worms in there. But don't worry, those worms, they die when they enter your stomach, inshallah. Your acids in your stomach, they burn them and they kill them. Jameel. So, يثبت تبعا ما لا يثبت استقلالا. So the ruling on eating worms when it's istiqlal, when it's independent of anything, is that it is haram. But when it is connected to another issue, the dates, it's halal. It's halal. Another example. What is the ruling on selling something that is unknown? Something that is unknown. Let's say to you now, if I say to you, I'm going to sell you that which is in my left hand. You don't know what's in it. There could be a gold coin in there. Or there could be a piece of paper in there. There could be one, and I said, I'm going to sell it to you for £100. It's haram. Bay'ul majhul haram. Okay. So what is the ruling on selling if you have animals, if you have a sheep, okay, that is pregnant, and you come to someone and you say to him, listen, I'm not going to sell you the sheep, but I'm going to sell you that which is in the stomach of that sheep, the embryo. You have to buy it from me now before it's born. So there is ambiguity, there is risk, right? That it could give birth to a dead animal, right? Or it could give birth to a live animal. You don't know if it's a dhakar or an untha. We don't know what it is. So what's the ruling on that? Haram, you can't. This type of bay' is haram. This type of bay' and this type of trade or transaction is haram. Okay. So that's with regards to the janeen. The janeen is the embryo, the calf that's inside the stomach of that sheep.
Even the buyer accept that?
Even if the buyer is still haram. Okay? That transaction is a flawed transaction. Jameen. What if I come and say, okay, take the sheep. I'm going to sell you this sheep for $200. Okay? And everything in its stomach for $200. Is this allowed now? Yes, it's allowed now. Do you understand? So the يثبت تبعا ما لا يثبت استقلالا. So يثبت تبعا, يعني the تبع here is the what? Is the embryo in the stomach? Is the infant or the child or the whatever you want to call it, the calf in the stomach of that sheep. On its own, it's haram for you to sell. Okay? But with the sheep, it's halal for you to sell. With the sheep, it's halal for you to sell. Another example is the Prophet ﷺ, he burnt the fields and the date and the trees and the crops of Banu Nadir. You know Banu Nadir? The Jewish tribe that basically this Yahudi tribe, they broke the oath that was between them and the Muslims. طيب? So the Prophet ﷺ, he burnt their crops and their trees and their fields. So this was what the Prophet did ﷺ. So burning crops and fields is haram on its own. But because the Prophet did it, it was an act of, because they made an act of aggression and the Prophet ﷺ responded in proportion proportionately, it became something that was allowed and permissible. Okay? Similarly, a farmer. Sometimes farmers, they have big fields, right? Sometimes they have to burn some of the scrubs and some of the bushes in order to clear the land, so that they can grow seeds and plant seeds and grow fruits and vegetables, etc. This is allowed for them. Although burning on its own causes destruction, it's haram. But because it's connected to another matter, it becomes halal. It becomes halal. Another example is you're praying behind the Imam. You're praying behind the Imam. The Imam makes a mistake in the Salah. What should he do? Sujood al-sahw. Did you make a mistake? No. What if someone says, why am I doing sujood al-sahw? I'm gonna stand where I am. I didn't make any mistake. La, you're not allowed. You have to make sujood with the Imam. So يثبت تبعا ما لا يثبت استقلالا. If you were praying on your own, would you make sujood al-sahw? No. But because you're praying with the Imam and the Imam made a mistake, the hukum changes and you have to make sujood al-sahw. You have to make sujood al-sahw. Naam.
Is it the same the other way around? If تبع أو محرم halal, does it become haram?
Like what?
I'm just wondering.
You have to give me a scenario. I didn't understand. If what?
I'm just wondering if there is anything like that, to be honest.
I don't know. You have to.
Will the hukum of it become haram?
Yeah, like last example, what you call animal slaughtered and dead.
ما فهمت. I didn't understand. So if a person مثلا let's say for example, if a person are you talking about if for example if the mother is haram, the child becomes halal مثلا, or the child also becomes haram? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Is that what you meant? هذا الذي كنت تقصد؟
What I mean is another.
What؟
سمعكم شيء.
تفضل كل شيء.
حيوان أو جوري. حيوان أو بنتي.
صح.
الكلام حرام وين؟
لكن he doesn't mean that. وحكي لك هلا يا سو. ما يحكي لك هلا لا. Let's not make it too complicated inshallah. نعم. So another example is Are you allowed to pray on behalf of someone else? Pray for them. Yeah, not to make dua for them. Someone, مثلا, is sick, is very ill at home, they can't get up. Are you allowed to go and pray for them? La, you can't. You can't. Everyone has to pray for themselves. Everyone has to pray for themselves. طيب, are you allowed to make hajj for that person? Someone who's terminally ill, are you allowed to make hajj for them? Naam, you are. Okay. In hajj, when you make tawaf around the Kaaba 7 times, what's the next thing that you should do? Naam, you have to pray behind Maqam Ibrahim in Umrah. Because in Umrah is also in Hajj as well. So you have to pray Khalfa Maqam Ibrahim, right? So this salah, you're praying technically, mada, for that person. Does the legislator say, hey, 1 second, go and phone them to pray? You're now in Maqam Ibrahim in the Zahma, pick up the phone and say, Adam, or whoever that person is, go and pray. And then I will continue with the Hajj. La, you pray for them. So that يَثْبُتُ تَبَعًا مَا لَا يَثْبُتُ اسْتِقْلَالًا. So that particular salah on its own, you're not allowed to pray for that person. But because it's connected to Hajj and Umrah, you are allowed to it. Because the hukum changes. Does that make sense, Ikhwan? And that brings us to the end of the principles, inshallah ta'ala. So we are aiming, my brothers, to complete the matan on March the 12th, inshallah. March the 12th, Saturday, March the 12th, that's when we're aiming to complete the matan, inshallah ta'ala. Alright, so that's 3 weeks away, inshallah. So in 3 more lessons, we want to complete the whole of the matan, inshallah ta'ala, so we can start the next matan. Barakallahu feekum wa jazakumullahu khairan. Sallallahu wa sallam ala nabiyyina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in.
والحمد لله على التمام في البدء والختام والدوام ثم الصلاة مع سلام شائعين على النبي وصحبه والتابعين.